So this is Quiet Walks. It's an unedited walk and talk in Arc Raiders. So I don't really know who needs to hear this. Somebody out in the world probably needs to hear this. But I want you to think about what's going on in your life and if you're, happy with it or not. If you're not happy with it, I want you to think about how you can take action to change what's going on. Because a lot of people in this day and age tend to feel stuck in their existence. Whatever that means. Like, people follow some baseline rules and they feel stuck in that, like, whatever. You're stuck in the job that you don't like, or the situations aren't going the way you want. And you can complain about that if you want. It's good to, it's good to vent. But also, if you're not taking some sort of tangible tangible action, then what are you really doing? If you're just complaining and you don't have any sort of interest in taking accountability, which doesn't mean very much, to be honest, it just means paying attention to what's going on and making changes, small changes to change the course of the direction of your life. If you're not making any course corrections, then you're not going to end up in another direction. If you just keep doing the same thing, you're going to end up in the same situation. So whatever it is that you're thinking about in life, you need to take some agency. Doesn't need to be a lot, but anything. So make a small change and make it every day. Like, not new changes every day, but just try to go like, how could I make this better? And whatever that is, carve out a little time for a workout, or carve out a little time for some meditation, or carve out a little time for playing some Arc Raiders, whatever it is. If you're in a situation that you don't like and all you do is tell people your sad story and you don't do anything to change it, then you're in this victim game. And you always have choice and change. You can always twist things a little bit in your direction. So maybe you don't have enough money or something and you want more. Well, there's micro changes you could make. You could get a job Ubering in the evening or something, or, you could do some arts and crafts and sell them on Etsy. I don't know. You have to decide these things for yourself, what you would want to do. But that's the gist of it, is if you're not making micro changes, if you're not envisioning some better way, it's not going to happen. Like, if you don't see another way out, you won't even attempt it. That's kind of like what manifesting and stuff is about. Like, manifesting is sort of a woo-woo term, but it, to me, means you're seeing possibilities and you're moving towards them. Because if you don't see any possibilities, if you're hopeless, you don't even try. So that's as simple as it gets for me, like all that weird secret stuff. If you don't even try, you won't get anywheres. You might by accident, but it probably won't be where you want. So, like, what could you do today to make you one micro step closer to... Was that at me? Was it weird? I think that was coming from across the lake here. But yeah, what can you do to make one micro step closer to the world you wish you lived in? And maybe you never get there. And you know what else happens? This is kind of wild too. I've done a lot of dreaming and chasing dreams in my life. Sometimes the thing you think you want, once you make enough little changes and you're like halfway there, you find out when you get closer and you can see it more clearly that you're like, well, this isn't the thing either. So that's when you make another course correction. I kind of like look at it like a sailboat. So, like, for example, right now, we're heading towards control tower. And if we don't do anything about this, if we just complain about how we're heading towards control tower and we don't do anything, we'll end up at control tower. But if we do this, it doesn't, we're right now, we're exactly the same place we were. We're still in this little island here. But we're going to end up over at the domes right now. Maybe we don't even know the domes are there because we can't see them. But we've made a course correction. We're going to like skim by control tower. It's still going to be a part of our life. Just right there. But now we're going to make our way over to something else. And over this horizon, you know, I think we all know what's across this in damn Battlegrounds, but in the horizon, you don't know what's going to be over there. And maybe when you get at that ridge, you want to make another course correction. But my whole message to you right now is, if you don't like the way your life is going, or you don't like certain things, make small changes to actively get out of that situation. You know, it's crazy. I haven't seen much arc here. There's one there. It's been less arc than I could have imagined. Shall we make our way over to this ridge and see what's across the horizon? I think we shall. So, yeah, that's all I want you to do. Is think of small ways that you can get more of where you want. You know, a lot of stuff in life is kind of, we think it's the way it is, but like everybody else that lives another life, they're just a human. They don't have like wild special abilities. They're just doing human stuff. And they have a completely different life. And like literally, you could have their life if you believed you could and you made the same decisions and choices. Sure. We can like go on and on about like some people have like connections. They do. That's a real thing. But maybe it just takes you longer to get to the place you want to go. And maybe you don't want to be where they are because that's ridiculous. Might have to help out with this. This might be intentional, though. They might be calling in ARC to get their trials done. We'll see. But yeah, sometimes we're just jealous of someone's situation. If you got there, you got close enough to it, you'd be like, well, hell, I don't even want that. That's awful. It's an awful life. Because you're just seeing like what they're presenting forward. Like those content creators or whatever. You're like, oh shit, that's so cool. But is it so cool? Screw you, Ark. I guess I'll go get that ammo. So, yeah. If you have a job that sucks and you're not making some sort of loose plan to get out of it and you're just going to ride it out forever, well, that's your life and you only get one. So maybe there's sacrifices that are worth making. Maybe the money's not the main thing. Maybe you got a really good paying job and you don't like it. Makes you work too hard and you don't have enough free time. Well, that's a good problem to have, I think. Maybe you don't have to work so hard. Maybe you could just tell them no. There's HR departments and stuff. They'll deal with you. And also, this is a random one. I mean, you're talking to a person, or you're not talking to me, but I'm talking to you. I don't make a lot of money. Never really have. Kind of lived an artist life. So I like make enough. I'm comfortable. I live a normal middle class seeming life. But I don't do it with middle class income. But I make my choices and I have a lot of free time and freedom in my life because that's what I choose. And so I don't know what's more important to you. There's another more food for thought. Working your whole life, or making lots of money. And as long as you have enough money for a shelter over your head and food and some peace and quiet once in a while, I mean, that's a pretty good life. So that course correction we did, instead of ending up there, we've ended up here. And now, the metaphor continues. Here we are. We can see another horizon. Is this a good one? Maybe. Maybe not. What are we going to do here? We're going to keep walking. Yeah, so that's what I want you to think about today. So this is a weird, I don't know what we're going to call this, a walkabout or something. Walking thoughts in Arc Raiders. But yeah, if you're not making small changes to fix the things you don't like about your life, you ain't doing nothing. So do something. Doesn't have to be dramatic, just something. I don't know, if you're feeling overworked, your job wants more of you than you want to give it, then I bet you it wouldn't be the end of the world if you didn't give your job everything. And I bet you your boss wants you to keep going. So, maybe they don't. But if you're a valuable employee and they want you to, well, they probably want you to keep going, and they probably don't want you to quit. So if you're on the brink of quitting, or you feel like you are, well, that's not a healthy place to be. So how can you make your everyday life less on the brink of quitting? Maybe you tell your boss, this is a thing, ask for what you want. Maybe you tell your boss what you want in life. Maybe you're dissatisfied because you want like a manager's job, a manager position. Did you ever tell them that's something you're interested in? If you haven't, you are crippling yourself, because believe it or not, ask for what you want is a real thing. It's a philosophy, and people do have a tendency of keeping in mind what you've said you want. And if you don't tell people what you want, they're certainly not going to go out of their way to give it to you. But if you tell them what you want, they actually often try to facilitate that. Now, believe it, it's not always the case. Maybe they don't believe you can have what you want, and maybe they tell you and maybe they don't. But there's really no harm in saying, I'm hoping to be a manager someday, or I'm hoping to have more vacation. Demanding is a kind of different thing. If you go in demanding, I need to be a manager or else, that's kind of, people don't like being demanded. Nobody does. Think back here, like when you were a kid and your parents told you to do something, you didn't really want to comply. But there we go. Oh, we got more coming in. Did they see me? They don't see me. So yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it. Ultimately, you need to take some agency. Don't complain too much. And if you're not making changes, you're just stagnant. So make those small changes. Can you think of a small change you can make today? Maybe it's playing less Arc Raiders. Maybe instead of playing Arc Raiders all night, you do some push-ups. Or maybe you look at some job ads to see if there's anything out there. Maybe you, maybe you don't know what you want. So maybe you should just sit and not stare at your phone and think about what you could do with your life meditate, if you will. Meditating is another one of those things that sounds all woo-woo, but in reality, it's just sitting with your thoughts and not worrying about it too much, and kind of like watching your thoughts go by. That's it. Like you just like, some people think you're not supposed to think at all, but the idea is that you just like sit and kind of observe your thoughts as they go by. Because your thoughts, it's like our brains kind of have cycles and patterns, and we don't really often realize how kind of cyclical it all is. So if you just sit there, this is what I've heard as an explanation for meditation. So you sit with your thoughts and you pretend like you're sitting on a stream of a river, or beside, like on the shore of a river, and the river is your thoughts. So you're not swimming in your thoughts like you typically do. We're always kind of swimming in our own thoughts. But instead of swimming in your thoughts, you sit on the shore and you watch the thoughts go by. That's the metaphor anyways. You don't literally do that, but that's how you kind of picture it. So you kind of go, oh, that thought's interesting. And then you think, oh, that thought's interesting. And you kind of just reflect on it. Give yourself, I don't know, 10 minutes to do that. And you might do that for a month, and you might find out you're somewhere's different than you were the month before. And maybe you'll make some smart changes, small ones, to adjust your course. And instead of ending up in Control Tower, you might end up in some other place you didn't expect. You know, it's a metaphor, guys. Come on. Anyways, this is like an unedited talk. No AI voiceovers and no scripts, just me rambling. If you like this kind of video, I guess, let me know, because I enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind doing this on the regular. Walks in Arc Raiders. Anyways, I hope you have a good day and you do something a little different today. Something that you always kind of wanted to do just because. All right. Have a good one.